Hello and welcome to the Student Council Podcast, an educational advice show made for students and by students where everybody is qualified to talk about their own experiences. My name is Carter Dvorak, and today I am so excited to be joined by Kailyn Merkle, studying at Purdue University. Kailyn, thank you so much for coming on today. How you been? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm curious. I like to ask everybody on here, what has been your favorite 5 minutes of the past week?
I would say my favorite 5 minutes was honestly going home, and we had a little pizza night, and I brought a friend home from college. So it was kind of fun.
That is really fun. And so we were talking, your friends from like the Illinois area, so they'd never been to like Saugatuck at all. Had they been to Michigan at all?
No, actually, this was her first time in Michigan even. So it was kind of cool to I don't know, for her to experience it kind of all together.
Yeah. Had she seen the Great Lakes? Because I feel like did she know that you couldn't see the other side from the Michigan side?
So she's been to like Northwestern and stuff like in downtown Chicago. So I know she's seen like Michigan where you can't see the other side, but I think it was very interesting for her that she got to experience like the other side.
Yeah. No, I think it is too. I love it. I love it, especially when people who have never ever seen the lake and they're like, I thought this would be tiny. And I'm like, no, it's really not. I hate to break it to you.
Yes, we drove over the bridge on the highway where you can like see the Douglas Bridge and then Saugatuck and then kind of see like back towards what we call it's like Silver Lake. And I was like, this is the Kalamazoo River. And she's like, oh wow, this goes like far. And I was like, oh, it goes all the way to Kalamazoo. Like we got a lot of time. Like there's a lot of rivers.
No, it is. It's a big old river. Yes. I love this. I love this super specific geographical facts, but
yeah, I cannot. Yeah, pretty much is how it went.
That's incredible. So you're at college. I'm at college. We graduated from the same year, from the same class, and I'm curious. You're at Purdue University. I just want to hear how it's all been in the past semester and a couple of weeks into the second semester. What are you studying? Kind of what are your plans? Just the general gist of it all.
So I am studying finance with a minor in real estate. I'm very interested in real estate investment, all of it. I'm kind of just majoring in finance so I can get a little more background about it so that when I do real estate, it'll make it a little easier for me. I would say that Purdue has been an experience in itself. It was definitely hard coming down in August, especially to Indiana where, well, there's no lakes. That's not a thing here. But it was just definitely interesting to see the difference, especially from coming from a small school to then going to a school with 50,000 students.
For sure. So there's no lakes. How often do you get a chance to see a body of water? Much? Not much?
So I actually joined the Purdue sailing team.
Oh, let's go.
So there is the lake is like an hour and a half from us. It's like towards Indianapolis, which is really confusing that you'd go more inland than out. But so I've done that a few times, and then I went to Wisconsin once for regatta in October. So I get to see it about once or twice a month without going home. So I try to get a little bit of a taste of it.
Yeah. I'm curious now about the sailing team. So is it a big sailing team? Is it pretty small? Is that a big thing about Purdue? Or like how are you guys also doing? Is it competitive?
So it's club. So it's not like it's very casual. We have people learning to sail, and then we have people that have had experience. Like one of the seniors actually went to East Grand Rapids, and like he was in the same he was an instructor at Grand Rapids Yacht Club. So it was very interesting to see kind of the program I grew up in at Purdue. So I went. It's not as competitive as you think. The one regatta I did go to was it's called like Wisco Women's, and that one is competitive. So that was very interesting just in general, because a lot of these girls, like, they sail year round. Like, it's an actual team. It's not just a club team. So it was very interesting to see the different sides of sailing through colleges.
Yeah, I think that's very valid points, because I don't know if U of M has a sailing team or not, but that seems like I hadn't thought about college sailing, but it sounds fun. We do?
You do. You guys actually have a really good sailing team.
Nice. Look at you teaching me about my own college.
They had 4 girls at the one, which I don't, but I know, like, I took a class with a girl that sailed at U of M, and she said, like, they went out east and they went to nationals. So I know you guys are decent.
Look at us. That's amazing. That's what, are you, I'm just going full sailing nerd now. What kind of boats are this? What are we sailing?
So we just sailed 420s. So they're 2-person boats with a mainsail and a jib. So it's the same thing I sailed in the summers. So it was pretty simple to just hop into it and just kind of become a skipper here, which was kind of nice.
That is nice. I feel like when I had a sailing program, I was not at the Saugatuck program. It was primarily the Sunfish, and then I think we had one 420 that we'd use from time to time. It always scared me as a kid, but that's beyond the point. It seems like they're very cool boats. I want to circle back to a little bit of, so finance. Are you thinking like you're looking at finance more for real estate than like investment banking, or is that anything that piques your interest?
So right now, like I've been interested in real estate since I was in fifth grade. I loved looking at houses, and like when my aunt moved, I looked at houses for her, and when we moved, I looked at land for us. And so right now, I'm doing it just for more of the real estate side. But again, once I graduate, I could always think about it going into like investment banking and stuff. And I think it'd be cool to like as like an internship, because right now I'm thinking of interning at like a title company or something to kind of get a little bit of background about like real estate. I think it'd be cool to also see like the investing side of like what I can do with my degree.
That would be really cool. I feel like I know a lot of people, especially in Ross, like doing the finance track. That's by far our biggest like piece of the major. So it's just something I'm always curious to hear about other school and other perspectives on, because I know that like investment banking is definitely a very rigorous and intensive thing, but I also feel like a lot of people do it, and I think that they find something out of it. I think they enjoy it. So beyond all of that, though, I want to hear a little bit more about general Purdue culture. What was it like? What kind of drew you into going to Purdue? And like, are there any big traditions or big staples of the school? Like these are the things they teach you?
I would say that what drew me to Purdue when I visited, at that point, I was practically committed to MSU. I was like, yeah, like I'm so excited, all of it. It was like that or Indiana, actually, University. And I got my acceptance to Purdue, and I totally forgot I like even barely applied there. I was like, oh my God, like I got my acceptance. And then I went and visited 2 weeks later, and I loved the campus. So they have like, the campus is kind of almost split into two, where like half of it's academic and half of it is like dorms and like dining halls and stuff. So it makes it really easy just to get around for it being such a big campus. So like compared to like MSU is very spread out, and I think so is University of Michigan.
Yeah,
they're very
for sure.
spread out, where compared to Purdue, it felt very compact, so it didn't feel as much of like a big school when you're walking around it, which I kind of liked, considering I was very interested in other like Big Ten universities.
Right. No, it seems like it's something that U of M's definitely more like, it's packed, but also it's kind of concentrated in different areas. Like Central Campus is going to be business, law, Allison Day. North Campus is like architecture and engineering and such. So it's kind of a weird mix of both like being crowded, but also like if you're in a certain major, you're kind of staying in the same spot. But that, I'm curious, you mentioned housing at Purdue and dormitories. Like, is housing, so you're in a dorm right now, how long do you think you'll be in like on campus Purdue housing? Are you going to move off campus next year?
So right now I'm in Earhart dorms, and there's like a girl side and a guy side, and I have community bathrooms. So there's
Okay.
50 of us sharing, I think like six bathrooms, or like six, there's 6 showers, six toilets, whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
so right now at this moment, my friends and I tried to get like a suite for next year because there's four of us, but those are all the juniors and sophomores took those up actually, or more juniors, which I was shocked by.
Hmm.
So right now we're pretty much in like the same thing, like dorms, but we're actually looking to get more off campus and get like an apartment because there is so many options around here.
That is nice. I feel like you see a lot of like both people staying in dorms. I don't know many juniors who make it to a junior in a dorm without being something like an RA, but I know sophomores do. But I also know so many people moving off campus, though. That's very exciting.
For sure.
Yeah. Speaking of dorms, I want to jump a little bit more into dining halls. Actually, I'm curious. What are the Purdue dining halls like? You can be honest. You don't have to be honest. And then, do you have a best or like most notable piece of food from the dining hall, or even just from like restaurants or other food on campus?
At Purdue, we're very fortunate where we do have 5 dining halls, but then we
Nice.
also there's a sushi place, we have Panera, Jersey Mike's, Chick-fil-A, and then there's the Purdue Memorial Union, and that has a bunch of restaurants as well where they all take meal swipes. So my first semester, I did eat a lot of dining food, but with allergies, that kind of became more difficult. So I decided like this semester, I haven't like there's an Earhart dining hall like in my
Mm-hmm.
building. I have not been to it once since being back this semester. I've been
Okay.
eating the sushi place. There's a smoothie place. There's just a lot of options, which is nice other than dining halls. But at the same time, there's only so much Panera or stuff you can eat.
I feel that entirely. Yeah, Panera burnout is real, for sure. I've gone through my waves of ebbs and flows. I definitely try and strike a balance between like dining hall food and getting out of that too a little bit. It's, it works. It's a good food. It does the job, but it's also like going to a nice restaurant is going to a nice restaurant, right?
Yes, and that's where I feel like I don't know. I feel like when I'm home, I'm very excited to like get decent food, whether it's my mom cooking or whether we go out to dinner in Saugatuck. It feels good.
It feels so good. So good, man. Like, I cannot tell you how much I love just like, getting back and having home cooked food. Or I do love our Saugatuck restaurants. It is something I think that this town does really well. I miss Pennyroyal being closed in January, even though I don't go there that much, but it's enough for me to notice it. But still, I do love the restaurants around that area. Switching into the advice side of this whole podcast, I'm curious, I'd love to ask everybody, what is the most impactful piece of advice that somebody has given to you?
My most impactful advice I would say is don't do anything like drastic with like your schooling your stuff until you're after your first year. Like I got told, because I was struggling my first semester, of course, as every freshman is. And I was like, well, I don't know if Purdue's place. And I got told by literally everyone to give it a year. Do not do anything after a semester. It does, which I think is honestly fair because at this point you're kind of used to your school a little bit, but it's more just you getting used to it as a whole. And like, just, like, hey, I'm down here for 8 months or 9 months out of the year. And like, you figuring out that you're okay with that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think it's something where I didn't expect how much of a transition it would be to kind of go back to being a freshman again. Just like I did not expect that to be like a feeling where like I've had moments where I'm like, dang, I kind of miss being the senior again. And even like coming from such a small community, it's like, wow, like I do miss some of the small town vibes. I think slowly though, I can get my way back into that with like smaller communities of clubs and things like that. But it's still something where it is a really good piece of advice to kind of let things settle and wade into it a little bit, because there's just naturally those growing pains and that weird, stressful, chaotic transition.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And that's where, for me, especially, like, I was able to get a car after a few months, which made it a lot easier for me, where when I was really struggling, my parents were like, you know what, it's okay. If you need to come home for a weekend and get it together a little bit and, take a break from campus, you can, which was very nice. For at the beginning, it was more like, see you in 7 weeks. You'll be home for fall break.
Yeah. No, exactly. I think that's really nice for sure. It was something where I definitely built it to be like, see you in 7 weeks. And then I came home sooner or later for like other circumstances, i.e. getting sick. But that's kind of how the cookie crumbles as well. You learn to live with that too and navigate it all. So yeah, it works
Seriously.
out.
I would 100% agree. Like for me, it's like after fall break, I was like, see you guys in 6 weeks. And then I got sick at the beginning of November. And my friend was going home and she was also sick. And I was like, great, can you drive me halfway too? Like, because she lives in Chicago. So I like called my mom. I was like, can you meet my friend halfway so that I don't have to spend my sick weekend in the dorm? And she's like, yeah, like I'll come get you.
No, I think I made it 5 days after winter break before I went back home to like recover. It was kind of funny, and in a strange way it was incredibly comedic, because I had like gone back and I'm like, maybe I'll like vlog a little bit of this week, and you can just watch the decline. Like I have all the footage of me being like, this is great, we're doing all these fun things, and then it's just like, nope, and then it drops off immediately. But
in the video, it's probably like you going to your parents being like, I'm done. I gotta come back. I
gotta go home. I need my bed, please.
Yeah, I'm dying a little bit here. Can I go back, please?
Yeah, but we make it through. It's all about balance.
Exactly.
I don't. If this is a similar question, we can bypass it. But I'm also curious. You have an ultimate tip, in ultimate in all caps, for somebody going into college.
Ultimate tip. Oh my! I would say don't skip classes. I only skipped for like extended fall break, pretty much because I had appointments and stuff.
Right.
And then I actually went to the rest of my classes. Like I didn't skip, and I think it benefited me well where I didn't get into the habit of it. And I have friends that, like, they got good grades, of course, and even though they did skip. But I'm just kind of glad I never got in the habit of that, because I feel like then I'd skip way too much.
I think I completely agree with you in that department as well, where it's like it takes a little bit of proactivity, but I think getting out of those like kind of toxic college habits right at the start is a really healthy thing of like, don't skip class, do the reading. Very simple things, important things to do. I'm getting better at the second one. Like, yeah. I've been pretty okay with not skipping class, occasionally. But like, I don't like skipping class that much, especially, or like, especially if it's a small one, like I get to engage with people, like I don't like to skip it. But then this semester, I'm proud of myself so far. I'm getting better at doing all the readings and things, which is good. So,
well, the thing is like we were able to in high school. I feel like it kind of came a little easier for me and probably you. And where it was when I got to college, it was a whole new world where I was like, oh, everything's just based off tests. No, I don't like that at all. Like, I'm not a test taker.
No, dude, that model definitely has some, it's for better or for worse, it's definitely an interesting model of like, oh, this is a lot of a grade based on an exam. I'm always appreciative when it's like homework and other work is factored into it. And I like how like a couple of my classes are doing different styles of grading. Like one of them is like it's like you earn points system where like every assignment you do, it's not like you lose points, you gain whatever you get from it. And then it's like once you hit like 35,000 or whatever, that's when you unlock an A or a C or something like that. So it's a really fascinating, like I like that type of grading a lot. It's for a media psychology class, so it's something where it's like not as much based on testing, but still I think that I miss that like homework and classwork model a little bit.
But honestly, that's really nice. And that's where it like I had a class last semester and it was like 75% of it's test taking. And I'm like, I am not good at test taking, where I like the part where for your class you gain points. So it's like it's up to you if you want to gain points, but it's for your benefit.
Exactly, which I think is a really good system. And like I feel like the test classes, at least for me, those are a lot of like gen eds. Like econ was kind of built that way, which is like, where it's something where it's like, it's not the worst thing in the world. And I think econ's one of those classes where like you kind of just have to memorize stuff. So I get it on a level, but still it's like, I'm excited for more of the classes literally in the similar vein, like business courses that are more the same stuff, but more based in that like homework, classwork, writing work, discussion based point systems, which is just kind of, it's a consequence of like once you move up in any college, it's going to be like that.
Yes. And I'll be excited when there's not, 5 exams at the end of the semester where it's like, because it's all your co-eds or co-recs, sorry. Yeah. And then they all run the same.
No, I'm grateful for that too. I think exam scheduling is such an interesting phenomenon where it feels definitely a little bit like it feels very random. A lot of my exams are in the evening, which I'm like, I guess this is how it goes.
Yeah, that's how mine are. I had a bunch at like 6 and 7:30 last semester, and then I just got told like for May my exams, and one of them's on like the Saturday I think of exam week. I'm like, oh great, like that's the last day.
Oh no, good luck. I mean, at least you know that you're done. You finish that, and you can really just embrace that you're done with everything. But
I know exactly. That's kind of what I'm excited about.
Yeah, for sure. I am curious. Going into college, I feel like we spent a lot of time talking about going to school as we were seniors with that sweet, sweet free hour, which I don't think technically we're supposed to say that we had in high school, but it was like a study hour, so it's fine.
I think we can say it now. Like, probably. We're already past it where we definitely, pretty much, like, I had a thing, I had like work-based where I just had to take a real estate course, and Carter,
I don't know what I was doing. I had something. I don't think it was a free. I think it was oh gosh, it was an independent study of some capacity, I think.
What was it again? I don't know what it was.
Well, second trimester senior year was when I pulled a Hermione Granger and I had to take like 3 classes in the same hour. Where it was like it was AP Lit, I had to do entirely independently, and then I go to Econ for 30 minutes and Band for 30 minutes. Usually the ratio is not always exactly that clean cut, but it was something where like I think that was what happened second semester, and then third semester I forget exactly what was happening. I think it was just some kind of I was doing something. I don't know.
Pretty much for the podcast, we created a room where my friend Juliana and I painted it, and then it became just like a hangout. It became a hangout room, and Carter and I had a free hour. We had 2 free hours. Oh no, it was just second hour. Second hour, my 4th hour was like an independent study. I was also in there. Yeah. So second hour, it was always Carter and I. And we just would end up just talking and not getting a lot of work done, but it was more just like us figuring out and talking about college, which is very interesting.
It is. Man, the room, I remember the day I walked in and there was a mini fridge, and I'm like, this is amazing. So good.
There was so much like mold in that with Juliana, and I found it. We're like, Miss Moore, we need help. And I remember Miss Moore at a personal finance class, and one day she comes in there and we're knocking out part of the desk with a hammer. And she's like, do I need to send people in here? Like, what is going on? We're like, no, we're good. And like, we just put it in the hallway, the part of the desk that we knocked out. She was like, yeah, it's okay, whatever. You got approval from the principal. We're fine. Yeah. I was like, oh my God. The fact that we did that in general was just insane.
All I'm hearing is that you were getting a jump start on the high school renovations.
That's kind of what our principal said. He was like, you know what? It's going to get destroyed next year. You guys can do whatever you want with this room. That's not even a room. Like, whatever.
It was incredible.
It
So
was.
lovely. But so going back to it, we spent a lot of time talking about college, and I'm curious, what were your expectations going into Purdue, and how did they kind of change? How did the reality compare? How did those shift?
I feel like I had a lot of expectations coming to Purdue. I kind of, you watch all the movies, which is not fun to
Oh,
say, but you like,
yeah.
you get that feeling where you're like, oh my God, you'll make a ton of friends, the first day, you'll meet people in your dorm and you'll do well in classes. They won't be that hard. And I think going into it, I knew classes would be hard considering I felt like high school was kind of easy,
Hmm.
but I there was an orientation thing for a week here called BGR, and it was like, you come spend an extra week in Indiana, and I opted out of it. I was like, nope, I am not spending an extra week in Indiana before
Yeah.
classes. So I came, I think, 4 days before classes started, which my roommate did the same, so it kind of worked in that way. But I honestly met people through like I met one of my friends through a floor meeting, and then I met her friends, and now we're like a group. So it definitely like wasn't expected like the first day to be like, hey, you meet all your friends and you think you're gonna be besties with them for the rest of your life. And just, some people you just meet in the elevator and you say they're just, friendly and you say hi because, you're all freshmen.
Hmm.
Or in my building, you're all freshmen, where you're kind of getting comfortable with like being away and you're all in the same boat.
I completely agree. I opted in for the early. I did the welcome team, so I basically moved in early so that other people could, and then helped other people move in, which was kind of wild. That was a fun experience. There were so many. It was definitely it was a wild time. I'll just say it was definitely something that was kind of chaotic but kind of fun at the same time. Where like I got to meet a lot of families very quickly. I didn't really grow like friends from that, but I had the same thing happen, except it was just my roommate. Like he had done a summer program at the business school, so he like met a lot of people. And although we didn't, to my memory, fill out any kind of personal preference sheet, we are very similar people, like in so many natures, which is kind of funny. So it was like I just was like essentially adopted and joined his friend group, and then that was kind of like that's been like my like core group as well, which is kind of nice.
That is really nice, where it kind of just worked out that way.
Yeah. It really did, which is like kind of entirely by happenstance, which is really funny. But it's like of all the people I could have been roomed with, it's just like the fact that we were so similar is really uncanny.
And then you went in random, I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, random, but in a learning community. So I knew that it would be another first year business student, but otherwise it was entirely random.
That is nice though, that you at least you knew like you two were on the same like track.
Yeah, even yeah, for sure. Which like that's been a really nice thing of like living with a bunch of like I think it's 30 of us, I think ish. We're all in the same like business school. We're all like we got placed in the same business communications class this semester, so it's just like it's a nice little community to kind of talk about all of the shared woes and shared experiences.
For sure. That does seem like really like almost convenient as well, where you guys can all talk about that sort of stuff together.
Absolutely. Circling back to our little room experience, we're all in dorm rooms right now as well, trying to transition
Yeah.
this out. The next thing I want to ask is, do you have a dorm room essential item?
I would say like earbuds.
Yeah.
Earbuds, or I don't know. I'm trying to like I've realized I'm a very organized person here, so I'm trying to think of like extra like the extra things I've needed since being here. I don't know. Yeah, I would say, earbuds, blankets, like all of
Yeah.
this stuff.
I completely agree with that. Earbuds, blankets, that weird little like pillow thing that's also like a desk, like a chair back with arms. That's something that's always nice.
Yes. I have one. Those things are a life changer in
Yeah,
college.
that was one of the funniest things on the move-in team is that everybody had one. Like every person you moved in had one of these things, and I'm like, look at that, we're all doing this together.
We all went to Target.
We all went to Target. Oh, dude, like the fact like having the same Target shower caddy as everybody else is hilarious.
Seriously.
It's
We all
great.
we all added the same stuff to our cart.
Yeah, as one does. That's really good. I feel like I was never like I loved earbuds even before college, but I'm like I'm never like the person who always has them in, and then I got to college and I'm like yeah okay yes I am like dining halls all that stuff. If like I'm not with anybody, I'm like all right earbuds are in, and I'm either I don't know like I'm literally sitting at the dining hall watching an episode of The West Wing as I eat my food like
Oh
chilling.
yeah.
So
Walking to
good.
class, all of it. Like it's
Yeah,
such a like an essential.
it is. Okay, this one I'm excited for. Kaylin, what's a moment from high school that you still think about? We've gone through a lot already, but what's something that really sticks out?
I'm gonna say, oh God, I'm trying to think. Our senior year was pretty good, so I'm trying to think
It
of like
was.
extra things, like little things that I thought about. I think one of my favorite times was I think you were in there as well in our room, and we had like there was like 10 of us. We were all talking
Yeah.
about random things, and it was towards the end of school, like it was like May or end of April, where we were all just like talking about everything, and it was kind of cool just to see we were all talking memories and like where we're gonna end up, and all the usual banter that happened in that room.
Yeah.
which I think we took full advantage of.
We did.
Just because we had the opportunity.
No,
but
absolutely.
I was gonna like, I don't know. I feel like our senior year altogether was pretty good. Like, especially after COVID, our sophomore and junior year.
I 10,000% agree. We were talking, I was in like a car ride driving back from a Detroit event. Somebody was like, what year of high school did you relive? And I think everybody there was like, probably senior year. And I'm like, yeah. Like, by far, I think that was the peak of all of that. Because there were so many, like, I feel like so many full circle moments, so many, like, kind of just, like, nice, like, everything had a really good ending, I feel like. Everything kind of ended pretty clean, which was great. So, yeah, that room was fun, too. Where, like, yeah, you'd be surprised how many people could just fit in there.
Oh, my gosh, advisory. There's, like, times we just got, like, at least 10 people in there. I'm like, how did this become this way? Like, it started with a few of us, and it just kept growing.
No, it did.
We'd get so many people in there.
Yeah, it was incredible because like it was such a fun experience. I remember like March Madness when like people be like Miss Moore would have the game on, but then you could look behind from the desk and you see the windows are like open, like the window shades were open. People were watching through the room. Just so good.
Calculus, they literally pulled the blinds all the way up. We're like, oh god.
Yeah.
But Miss Moore never cared. She was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, walking into calculus, remember the days in calculus where you'd walk in and you'd be like, this is a video day. And then we just like go, like, I feel like there'd be days where people go in the other room and just watch the video like shortly after or nap. And either one.
Benny and I was like, oh, it's video day? Back to the room. Like,
yeah.
Especially like that last month, I feel like when calculus wasn't like we didn't have calculus, so like it was literally like fourth and fifth hour. There was just people in the room coming and going.
Yeah, no, that was so fun. Yeah, when we didn't have calculus, I forgot about when we didn't have calculus, but that was just like such a vibe where like you just kind of hang out at like 1:45. Like I don't know what to do now, but it was always nice.
Juliana, so I was like, I'm gonna go home, and then like the last like month, I remember she's like, you know what, I'm gonna stay here. We don't have that many days left where we can do this.
No, I remember the same thing, where it'd just be like there'd be days where I'm like, yeah, I'm just not gonna leave. I'm just gonna hang out. It was fun. It was funny you brought up Benny. I see Benny found me on Be Real and connected, which was so good. So I see like, especially because he's in Germany, so it's like at random times I'll be like, oh, Benny did a new Be Real, and he's the only one that I see.
Oh, I talk to Benny. Honestly, I talk to Benny frequently, and he always talks about like, especially now is the time I feel like where like Adele, Will, and you sat in front of us. It was Adele, Will, Benny, and I all sat together, and you were in front of us. So it was like I feel like that's kind of when all of us became closer. Mm-hmm. So like he brings that up to me. He's like, "Oh my gosh, like, do you remember in calculus when we were all stupid?" And like Carter would look back at us and be like, "What is going on with the four of you?" And Adele would just be hitting Will. Will would just be getting confused.
No, it'd be like Adele and Will are off doing something. You and Benny are like doing something else, and I'm there like just kind of listening in, and like I try like a problem, and then I just turn around and be like, all right, we're doing this now, which are always the best of days.
You'd always turn your chair on, like, because we had like quizzes we could all do together, and we'd all be sitting there. Just Benny had that stupid water bottle, and he could just spray everyone. Yes, and Will would get so mad, and Miss Moore was like, I give up on your guys' entire row, like, you guys are done.
Yeah. Oh, that was so funny. I remember that class too, because that was the class I was when the UMich like thing dropped. And so like I'm in, and like I don't know, I tactically sat in front of Miss Moore, not for any other reason than the fact that I made sure I would not fall asleep in that class. Like I was never a sleeper, but I'm like, okay, if I sit in this row in front of the teacher, I cannot, like, because there were days in that class where I would sit there and then be like, I can either fall asleep right now in front of the teacher, or I can just keep taking the notes. So I'm gonna keep taking the notes and power through. But like I remember I was sitting right in front of Miss Moore, and like somebody looked across the room and like basically nodded that the UMich thing had dropped, and I just whip out my computer right in front of her, and I'm like, I'm checking this right now, which was so fun.
Remember that you're like all of a sudden you just saw like stuff started opening, like, oh my god, it's going on.
Yeah, because that was such a day, because then you like go in the hallway and there's all these like huddles of people, and it's like it happened, like it dropped. Which,
oh yeah, the amount of in it, like the next day you knew where people were like, oh, I'm going now, or like where they were their second choice or whatever was happening.
Yeah, I think that'll probably be this Friday. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like it's most likely than not. It's probably because it's usually the last day in January, and I like the last Friday in January. So I think it's coming up.
That'd be this week.
Dang.
Wow, that's actually so weird to think about. Like a year ago, we were getting acceptances, and that like now we're like a full semester in.
We're a full semester in. It is wild. It is incredibly cool. Just keep rolling on with everything school related. I want to talk about music a little bit. I want to talk about, is there a song that either got you through high school or has gotten you through college, or just anything that really like sticks out to you?
Oh God. Hold up, I think I'm going to like pull up my Spotify, Carter.
I know.
I can't think of any.
That's fair.
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I've gotten this summer, especially my sister and I got into country.
Oh
And
yeah.
so now I'm a little bit of a country girl.
Okay.
And I think honestly, like I listen to that going to class because half the time it's like more upbeat.
Yeah.
So I need that for my morning classes. So I think I would say honestly just like the genre of country right now. And then, the music you hear in college. I feel
Yes.
like there's like 2010, 2000s a lot, but
Yeah, no, that's always so good. I was at our like consulting club was doing like a meet the members event, and like we were just like it was kind of funny because we're in the business building, but we're just like through the speakers playing the like classic like college playlist of all like the 2010s music, and it was very fun. Can you name a specific do you have a favorite country song then? If you could name one specific one or an artist, I'll take an artist as well.
you'll take an artist.
Yeah.
I gotta go to my sister and I's country playlist. I'm low-key exposing my sister right now too, but that's okay.
It's okay.
We have a lot of oh god, we have so much like different. We have a lot of Thomas Rhett.
Yeah.
Kane Brown's on there. I think we listened to She Had Me at Heads Carolina like 50 times when we went to Florida for Christmas break.
Okay.
So, like I'd say those are kind of like some like top tier ones.
That's good. I feel like I could definitely expand my country listenership. I'll do like Jimmy, not often. There was a day recently where I was sitting there and I was walking to class and I'm like, I need some Jimmy Buffett right now. And I just popped on one of his albums and I'm like, this hits, which is so good.
My dad would always put that on when we would go boating and stuff. So I'd be like, this
Yeah.
actually isn't that bad. It's actually kind of good.
No, it's great. He's one of the biggest, like, he's mastered a genre for a reason. Like, he's the guy that was my first concert. Fun fact. It was such a fun time. It was a Jimmy Buffett concert.
That's actually so cool.
I was like 13. It was great. We can get into more of that later. Last question for you is what would you tell your freshman self in high school and your freshman self in college?
My freshman self in high school, I would tell them not to stress so much about everything because in the end, it all works out. Like, it's not like, I feel like so much pressure is put on us when we enter high school. Like, yeah, your GPA, it's going to affect you and your test scores. Or we were fortunate enough to go test optional. But I think it was just the stress of it all and being so worried about everything and tell myself to calm down a little bit and that it all worked out. Like, you got into college. You made it.
You did the thing.
Oh God. I'm trying to think for like freshman college me. I would say it's okay to be homesick. It's okay because you are in a whole different environment. So it's okay to feel a little out of place, especially at first.
Yeah.
And like you're gonna have your ups and downs. Like that's how it's gonna go. That's how life works. And especially as a freshman in college now, you're still trying to figure everything out.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. That's a really good piece of advice. I think it's something that like, especially I think for coming from a small and close-knit community, it's something that I think really strikes hard. And like, yeah, there's a level of like, not like a weird feeling sometimes I feel like when I would go home and I'd be like, I'm home and everybody else is at school. But like, that's okay. If you need those weekends to take that, it's good. And it's a really good thing to just keep in mind. So
yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think everyone feels like when they go home, like, oh, you're home. And I'm like, but they need it. Like I already have it in a few weeks. I'm going to go skiing with my sister. I'm going to go home and hang with her and just kind of like, again, we all need breaks from school. We can't always be, I don't know, so academic or like surrounded by academics and college all the time. Because in the end, like it is 4 years of your life, but you do have a life after that.
You do. That's a whole other gambit to think about. That'll be another podcast down the line. It's just the life council. But
that'll be when Carter graduates. But okay, this is how it really goes, guys.
This is what happens. I'll just keep doing this for the rest of my life. I'll just be checking in with Kailyn. We're both like 45. I'm like, so what's your life like now? How's your career status? Any new promotions?
Did we make it after college? Did we actually make it through college? Like,
did we?
Let's go through all of it.
Let's go through all of it. That will be weird if I keep doing this and it's a living, breathing log of my 4 years of college and beyond. It'd be wild.
Honestly, that'd be like kind of cool to look back on when you are like 40 and you're like, wow, I did this for all 4 years, like, or at least the 4 years.
Yeah, I always wanted to do a super, super condensed version of this for our entire graduating class, and it never happened. But I was like, that would have been weird too. But I'm also like, I like this format too, of just like getting to check in with people and do that.
I was gonna say I would agree with that. Like I think it would have been cool, but also this format's cool where you kind of get to see where they are after months.
Yeah, especially because it started before I knew where I was going. Like I had gotten into U of M, I had not gotten into a bunch of other schools, which is weird to think about, but it's been very fun. Kailyn, the last question I have is anything you'd like to plug or share or send people to at the end of this fine podcast episode?
I would say that don't be afraid to try something new. Like I was terrified to come down to Purdue, and in the end, as my dad says, like it's just like you have to at least do it a year. Like you have to, because in the end you'll regret it, and you don't want to regret it years later. Be like, I took the safe route.
Yeah,
and I'm glad I didn't take the safe route in the end, even though you always consider looking back at it. You're like, oh, what ifs, but you can't think about those.
You cannot. I completely agree that, yeah, there are definitely, I think, safer routes to go. And I'm like kind of glad that this was, I think, the right path for me. So that's really good. I'm really happy to hear all of that. This has been a wonderful time catching up with you. Thank you, Kailyn, for coming on today. Thank you, listener, for listening to this episode of the Student Council. I have been Carter Dvorak. That has been Kailyn Merkle. Kailyn, anything else you want to plug or share? Any final words?
Thank you for just having me on this podcast. It's actually been really fun.
Yeah, a blast. Anytime you ever want to check back in, again, when we're both 45, it'll be there. So
sounds good.
Just you wait. If you want to find us at Student Council, our Instagram is at StucoPod, and our email is stucopod@gmail.com. Wishing you the best of luck and the best of times in all of your educational endeavors. The Student Council is adjourned.